Today on the Daily Scoop podcast from the Scoop News Group. DOD looks to move beyond fragmented CJADC2 deployments with a $2 billion budget request. And a House panel will lock in on AI's impact on cyber in a forthcoming hearing. It's Friday, May 29th, 2026. Welcome to the Daily Scoop podcast, where you'll hear the latest news and trends facing government leaders. I'm the host of the Daily Scoop podcast, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for joining me. And now let's dive into the day's top headlines. Tucked into the Pentagon's budget materials for fiscal 2027 is a request for more than $2 billion to purchase command and control technology licenses and engineering support for the U.S. Combatant Command's Joint Staff and National Guard Bureau. That total includes more than $1.5 billion to expand defense users' access to Palantir's Maven Smart system in support of the Defense Department's Joint Force AI-enabled Headquarters Initiative, and $60 million for the Virtual Joint Operations Center Initiative. Little has been disclosed publicly about those two efforts to date, and a Pentagon spokesperson declined to share more information about them with Defense Scoop this week. However, the budget documents indicate that the department is looking to swiftly consolidate software-centric C2 onto a single pane of glass over the next fiscal year. The DOD's foundational concept for Combined Joint All-Domain Command and Control, or CJADC2, which broadly involves breaking down long-standing boundaries between the military services to enable a unified network where all sensors and shooters can seamlessly connect, started to take clear shape in the early 2020s. According to budget documents, the department's Mission Command Applications Program funds licenses for joint force and services on multiple networks, engineering support to integrate new data sources and digitize workflows, maintenance of a DevSecOps pipeline to allow third-party vendors to develop and field applications on MSS, funding for those third-party vendors to close CJADC2 gaps, and cloud compute costs needed to run applications and workflows. DOD planned to spend more than $103 million for activities associated with that program in fiscal 2025, more than $240 million in fiscal 2026, and is now proposing more than $2 billion for fiscal 2027. Now moving on to other news. A House subcommittee will hold an open hearing next week on how frontier artificial intelligence models are shaping the cybersecurity landscape, for good and for ill. The June 4th hearing will be the second the Homeland Security Subcommittee on Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Protection has held that was focused at least in part on the subject, following a similar hearing held in December. But unlike at that joint subcommittee hearing where members also examined other emerging technologies, AI takes center stage next week. It caps a series of closed-door meetings of the Homeland panel where members and staff have been evaluating the intersection of AI and cyber. Witnesses called to testify in the hearing will be Sandra Joyce, Vice President of Google Threat Intelligence, Chris Messerol, Executive Director of the Frontier Model Forum, Jack Cable, a former top official at CISA and now Chief Executive Officer and co-founder of Corridor Security, and Matthew Goriglia, a Senior Policy Analyst at the Electronic Frontier Foundation. Subcommittee Chairman Andy Ogles, Republican of Tennessee, said in a written statement, quote, "Communist China is moving aggressively to control the technologies that will define the future of economic and military power, and few technologies are more consequential than artificial intelligence. Adversaries are already working to steal American AI capabilities, weaponize AI-enabled tools, infiltrate critical systems, and undermine our national security." He continued, quote, "AI is the America First mission of the future, and it is becoming our number one offensive and defensive weapon against cyber terrorists." For more news at the intersection of the federal government and technology, make sure to visit fedscoop.com. Thanks so much for tuning in to another episode of the Daily Scoop podcast, available on all podcast platforms. If you've already rated the podcast on your platform of choice, thanks so much. High ratings and good reviews of the show help more people to find it. The Daily Scoop podcast is a production of the Scoop News Group in Washington, D.C. Adam Butler and Carlin Fisher help put the show together, and the entire Scoop News Group team contributes. We'll be back next week with more top headlines. Until then, I'm your host, Billy Mitchell. Thanks so much for listening.